Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. So let's get talking about some of these major issues. Let me start with what happened, the conclusion of the presidential retreat and the meeting our praiser. So the president has promised that his administration will build a more resilient economy, especially as Nigeria recovers from the coronavirus pandemic that brought the world to its knees. The president says the federal government would continue to implement fiscal measures to improve the nation's domestic revenues and mobilize external funding support. The president appears to have sided with the vice president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who yesterday spoke about the state of the economy and where to go, especially on the synergy between the fiscal and monetary policies. A lot of criticisms followed the VP's stance on the value of the naira and what he said. Experts were talking and Nigerians reacted to what the vice president said. But I'll allow you to listen to what the president said today at the conclusion of the presidential retreat. Take a listen to President Buhari.
Let me assure Nigerians that this administration will continue to implement fiscal measures to improve our domestic revenues and mobilize external funding support to build a more resilient economy. There must be synergy between the fiscal and monetary authorities to keep the economy on the trajectory of growth.
Pretty much part of what the vice president said. But for some clarity, for those of you who did not get what the vice president said yesterday, which has caused a lot of controversy, because it's a very touchy issue about the state of the naira. You know how much the dollar exchanged now to the naira and the value of the naira to other currencies or the foreign exchange state of things right now. Well, let me remind you of what the VP said yesterday.
If you're going to intervene in agriculture, it should be with full consent. So that synergy is absolutely important. The reason why it's important, aside from the fact that you cannot plan an economy in any other way, the more important thing is that sometimes you will get people who are benefiting more than once because we simply have no line of sight to what's going on one side. CBN doesn't know what we're doing. They don't know what we don't know what they're doing. So I think that is important. That synergy is absolutely important. And as for the exchange rate, I think we need to move our rates to a more reflective market, as reflective of market as possible. This, in my own respectful view, is the only way to improve supply. We can't get new dollars into the system where the exchange rate is artificially low. And everyone knows by how much our reserves can grow. So I'm convinced that the demand management strategy currently being adopted by the CBN, we need to rethink.
Those are very deep things the vice president said. Don't forget, he's the chairman of the National Economic Council as a vice president. So if he's saying that there needs to be synergy between what is being done on the monetary and the fiscal side of things, then there is a very big question that the VP is saying. But is the advice of the VP or the position of the VP the way to go, especially when it comes to the issue of the naira? Let's get some professional and expert opinion on this. I'm being joined by a friend of the house, economics, and the executive director of financial derivatives, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, who joins us from Atlanta in the United States. Thank you so much, Mr. Rewane, for joining us. Give us a sense, because I know you've read and you've heard what a lot of people have said about what VP Osinbajo said yesterday. First and foremost, let's put it into context for an average viewer on this program who are not very much savvy with the details of economics and what this all means. The only major thing that everybody is concerned about is how the value of the naira to the dollar is skyrocketing, the exchange rate, and the official rate is there very high at about over 400, and on the parallel market, way over 550 naira to the dollar. So in layman terms, is that what the VP said, is that a way to go? in labor.
Yes, I can't hear you, Sean.
Okay.
Sean, I
So
can't,
okay,
I
now
can't hear
let's
you
go.
clearly.
Let's go again.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now? If you just take a note, if you can hear me now, so that we're on the same page.
Okay. I can hear you, but not. Okay, just go ahead. Okay.
Okay, so the question I was asking is for you to give us a sense in layman terms on what the VP was explaining yesterday. A lot of people seem to have criticized his position on the value of the naira and how to fix things. Explaining yesterday, a lot of people seem to have criticized his position on the value of the naira and how to fix things.
Now, first and foremost, let me be clear that what the Vice President said was absolutely correct in the sense of no currency, which is managed on a fixed rate basis, will ever find fair value. To that extent, what does it mean? It means that the currency has market value and it has what is called the official value. But in reality, the question we have to ask ourselves, what the president just said, that the goal is to build a resilient and strong economy. Some people mistake a strong currency for a strong economy. No, the truth is that a strong economy leads to a strong currency by implication. You can have a strong currency and a weak economy. It's only a question of time before that economy will flounder. So let's go back to what it is. An overvalued exchange rate is of no use to the policymakers, the regulators, and the markets. So what are we looking for? We are looking for convergence. So what the central bank is doing is trying to manage the exchange rate in as best as it could based on the limited resources. But on the other hand, there's excessive demand for dollars, driven by so many things, factors, economic growth, but there's also speculation, fear, and panic. So where do we get some kind of alignment so that a currency that is overvalued, is it transitory or is it structural? What you must note is that the Nigerian economy ran into difficulty. The event of the difficulty being the pandemic, but the cause of the problem was pre-existing before coronavirus. Part of that pre-existing condition was an overvalued exchange rate, subsidies in the petroleum system, mispriced electricity. So to bring these factor prices into what we call a general equilibrium status is what we require. So let us take the factors that lead to currency valuation in the first place. There are about 5 factors: the balance of trade, the level of external reserves, the level of inflation, the level of interest rates, and the general level of productivity in the economy. If you look at all these factors, the Nigerian naira should be getting stronger because during the COVID period, the price of oil dropped to as low as $28 a barrel. Today it's $82, $83 a barrel. Therefore, the currency, just arithmetically speaking, the currency should be 4 times stronger than what it is. Why is it not so? Why is it not that? Why is it not reflecting that value? Because the actions of policymakers at times are sending mixed signals. In other words, you are trying to allocate a resource and find an administrative solution to a market problem. The way to deal with a market problem is to allow the invisible hand, which is the supply and demand, to determine it, and then you intervene occasionally to bring stability to it. That is what the question. So there's nothing wrong. There's no difference between the goal which the vice president espoused and the goal which the central bank is trying to practice. But the path to achieving general equilibrium and what we call the real effective exchange rate of the economy, which brings about fiscal neutrality, is one of either managing by fiat or managing by a process that is transparent and that does not subject itself to whims and caprices and corruption. I think that is the truth. So, quite frankly, I don't see any divergence in objective. I only see divergence in strategy. And if you look at, there are about 190 countries in the world, I think, about 170 of them actually have managed floating rates, convertible currencies. So Nigeria cannot be an outlier. Nigeria has to do that which is necessary because, let's face it, for 3-4 years, the difference between the parallel market and the official market was only 3 or 4 naira, less than 1 or 2%. But once distortion started coming in, look at the expansion now, the difference is 165 naira. So this makes a country into what we call a speculator's paradise. And that is what's happening right now.
Okay, so Mr. Rewane, I mean, you are in the business, and this is where you always help me. And it's easy for me to run to you each time I have this economic problem. So tonight, it's not the first time we are hearing the issue of the valuation of the naira or rebasing the naira, the economy, or what have you. These are technical language. But in the layman language, is the issue of the valuing the naira the way to go? If you can break it down for us.
Very, very simply, if your inflation rate is 17 to 18%, and the inflation rate of your trading partner is 2 or 3%, which is America, the difference between your inflation rate and your interest rates, right, will give you currency valuation. You need to bring, first of all, your interest rates to market. Then you need to look at the price of commodities in your country. Let me take one example. The bag of rice 5 years ago, 4 years ago, was about 7,000 or 8,000. Today it's 30,000 naira. We are producing rice. We have what they call rice pyramids. But rice pyramids are not prices in the market. Go to the market, it's 30,000. Let me take something very simple that you understand. A tin of sardine, Titus sardine, was 200 naira in this country. Today it's 600 naira. People are smuggling sardine from Nigeria to Ghana and all the other countries. It's 600 naira. The price of a bag of flour was 14,000 naira by this time last year. Today, it's 21,000 naira, and it's going up to 24,000 naira by November 1st. Look at Egusi, the same thing is happening there. Look at diesel. Diesel was 190 naira a year ago. Today, it's 320 naira. So money is what money can buy. You can postulate all you want to do. You can have all the administrative controls you want to have. But at the end of the day, people have to buy things with the value of the currency they have. So it's not just in the foreign exchange market that things are eroding. It's eroding all over the place. So what do we have to do? Increase productivity. And I put it to you that if you have a strong economy, a strong currency will follow. As a matter of fact, many countries like China are actually embarking on what they call competitive devaluation. The weaker your currency, the more attractive it is for people to buy your exports, your non-oil exports. You've heard the over-labored argument that, all we produce is oil. But that's not all we want to produce. We want to produce other things. So let us adopt and have the courage to adopt a currency valuation mechanism that will allow fair value of trade. Because after all, John Kennedy said, you have nothing to fear but fear itself.
On a final note on this matter, the president said we want to build a resilient economy. I mean, coming from this troubled period of the pandemic, not only Nigeria experienced the shock that we've seen in our economy, the whole world felt it. Even the biggest of the economies, they felt it. So going forward, Mr. Rewane, when the VP raised an issue of discordant tune between the CBN and what is done on the other side of things, these are political figures within the sector that are speaking, and we have highlighted, and the VP saying it means a lot. What do you think should be done immediately, and what effect do you think it will have?
Well, let me put it this way. The coordination of fiscal and monetary policy and investment and trade policy is important. The fiscal authorities are to actually stimulate growth by taxes, revenues, waivers, and incentives. The monetary policy authorities are to stabilize the economy by making sure it's not overheated, using interest rates, exchange rate, and money supply management. There's no conflict of interest, but there's at times conflict in strategy and applications. It is important that everybody knows that when the World Bank meetings are taking place in Washington today, the leader of the team is the Minister of Finance. The Central Bank is part of that team. So there's no doubt about the fact that the fiscal authorities lead the economic challenge. The monetary authorities stabilize this. So what you need is alignment of goals, alignment of strategy, and reduction of what we call bureaucratic trespass. There are a lot of people are doing things which are not in their purview. So if you can minimize the trespass, administrative trespass that is taking place, then you reduce the ability of people to exploit regulatory arbitrage, which is what's happening. So in a layman's term, we are going from a growth of minus 1.8 to a growth of plus 2.5 this year. It is still below optimal, but we are moving in the right direction. So what do we need to do to boost productivity without embarking on too much debt and too much suboptimality in the way we are doing things? That needs for all sides to coordinate their activities, sit down together in the economic management team or Presidential Economic Advisory Council to actually soothe out, to make sure that there's no conflict of goals and no contradictions of policy. That is what is happening. And I think that's what I hear both the VP and the President talking about. No contradictions, no conflict in policy, so that we can have a strong economy, which will lead eventually to a strong currency.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rewane. No matter how much check you send to my department for this expert opinion, I don't know how much it can pay you. But many thanks for coming through again tonight. Thank you so much for breaking it down for us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.